Simon, what kind of shape are you in at the moment in terms of injuries? You mentioned sore bodies after the weekend.
Yeah, I think a defeat like that. I think we made 170 tackles, and I think we had 36% possession. So I just think that the boys have put a huge amount of effort in, and probably didn't do ourselves justice. Probably not holding on to the ball for long enough, and we probably offered them too much go forward. We kicked quite short to them, and that allowed them to attack. Once they lost Burnley, then they had very little kicking options in their back line. So it was always going to be a day where we were going to have to defend, and we scrambled and we held on in the first half at times. And their power and their ability to find the space in the second half resulted in a couple of early tries which sort of broke the back of us a little bit, but a huge amount of effort from last weekend. And I think sore bodies and minds, I think, after the game, because they put a huge amount in but not got a lot out of it.
How were you fitness-wise? Obviously you mentioned Aaron and Samson afterwards.
Yeah, we're not too bad. We're hoping that the two or three that we were concerned about might come through. So
Right.
we probably leave selection. We will leave selection till Thursday, but we're hoping to get a couple more back. Steve Shingler and Morley come back into the equation this week. Rob McCusker comes back into the equation, which is good. So we might lose a couple, but we'll also gain a couple, which is good. So there's a double edge really. We lost a couple, but we'll get a couple back to potentially bolster the group.
Is Phil among those, Phil John as well?
Yeah, he's another one that we definitely needed to get his back sorted out after the Leinster game, and the right call to leave him. And Rob Evans, to be fair to him, went really well. He battled and he scrummaged and he did everything that was asked of him. So there was some good performances from some of the youngsters in an environment which some of them weren't been in before.
In that, talking about environment, will you have gained from that saying, yeah, we didn't do ourselves justice, but we know now down here without the home crowd, then we could be a match for them? Or?
Yeah, I think in any game when you don't have that much possession and you're defending so much, there's you feel like you haven't given the best account of yourselves, and I think to a man we stood up against them and we tried to outmuscle them, and it's difficult to do that against Claremont, but for 45 minutes it was 6-3. Now the end result is a 4 tries to 1, but I think we showed enough then when we did have some amount of possession and some decent sustained pressure that we could cause them problems, and I think that's our battle and challenge this week, is that we do that more often than we did. If we can get 50-50 possession, then it becomes a different game. We're not defending as much, which is more tiring. We're not chasing after them; they're having to work against us, and then I think we can say at the end of the game, well, we've had that possession, and we can say yes, it's been good enough, or no, it hasn't. But I think until you have that type of balance, then it's difficult to say against a team like that.
There is a meeting obviously tomorrow between the region and union. Hopeful of any outcome on that?
Some outcome would be good, yeah. Something would be. I'm hopeful for the game in general. I think it's becoming it's dragged on, isn't it? And for the betterment of the Welsh game, both regional and national game, it's got to be fixed. It doesn't take a genius to work out that there's been some hard work being put in, that I know of, certainly from the regions, to try and get these things resolved, and it's going to take both parties to come together and have the same mindset and hopefully the same thinking to taking the game forward. Otherwise we're going to miss an opportunity. I think it's that big at the moment. It's a big opportunity to safeguard the game here for the next 4 or 5 years.
On the plus side, obviously you announced someone like Jordan still. He's obviously seen as a massive talent for the future. That's a huge boost for you, isn't it, to keep a player of that?
Yeah, we tried to we tried to early on this season that the board, the chairman have been really positive about retaining those guys that we want to keep, and some of them haven't quite gone on to international rugby yet, but we're really fortunate we've got a number of key youngsters that have started to come through this season, and it's vital. We can't afford not to keep those players and keep investing in their development, and we've shown that this season in their performances in the Heineken in particular, and that has to continue for us to survive.
How do you see the makeup of the pool now? Harlequins have sort of come back into the picture.
Yeah, it's I think weeks 3 and 4 notoriously are the make or break weeks. You can keep yourself in the competition, or you can make it difficult for yourself to qualify, and I think this is that for us this weekend. We get a result, we go to 10, and we're back in the mix with 2 rounds to go, 1 home, 1 away. So I think it's vital that we get a result this weekend if we're going to progress through this group, which is going to come down to the wire if we do. And Quins have got Racing at home on the weekend, and I'm sure there'll be a few harsh words for the Racing team in the week in the French press maybe, but I think it's opened the group up, that result, and we need to play our part in that this weekend.
Clermont got a massive pick and drive game they did last week. Is the key to you trying to speed it up and keep it pacey like you did in Quins?
I think you've got to have the opportunity to do that. So I think we've still got to do the groundwork to do that. Like I said, we didn't get as many opportunities against Clermont as we did against Quins, maybe to use that sort of counter-attack unstructured game. We need to manufacture some things as well, and keeping tempo in the game is important, but Clermont can do that quite well as well, and they showed, like you say, on the weekend when they started to not get any change out wide, they started to come to the middle of us, and it was difficult to stop. So we've got to make sure we stop them at source first, and then make sure then we keep our width and our D, and when we've got the opportunity, we need to kick better, and we need to probably hold on to the ball a bit more than we did against them out there.
Is that what you expect them to come through the forwards early on?
What do they say? If it's not broke, don't fix it. They've got a. They can play more than one way, and that's what's so impressive about them. When you look at them across the board, they've got enough strike power to go through the middle, wide, wherever they want, really. And so our role probably this weekend is to starve them of a little bit of that opportunity, and we can do that in a number of ways, but keeping all the ball ourselves is one way of doing that.
There's some tough selection calls, because obviously boys who come off the bench had a bit of an impact for you in the week.
Yeah, it's great, that, and that's, I suppose, in not in every position, but in certain positions we've got a bit of depth now. So there's a few tight calls, and still today debating on who should fill those certain roles, because these games are the games that players want to play in. We've got Munster away next week, then we've got the back-to-back Ospreys games, and before the new year, so there's so much to play for the players, and all the players want to be involved in these important games and games where they can showcase themselves.